Arabian Business has just gone to press on its first ever Indian Aces special. I asked Jeremy Lawrence, editorial director, all about the list. I'm Eddie Taylor, and you're watching Inside AB. So, the first ever Indian Aces special. Tell us about who's on the list.
Yeah, well, it's literally hot off the press, so if you'll forgive all the notes I've got here. It's been a big day. It's been a big day.
It's a big issue.
It is a big issue. So some common themes emerged, and it was really interesting to pick these out. There was three, really. The first was that a lot of these are self-made men out of this list. So for some examples, Mushtash Sheikh, founder of Lobo Tailors, he arrived in the late 50s to Dubai with 300 rupees in his pocket. That's 19 dirhams. He was a teenager.
Right.
He slept on the streets. He slept in the bottom of dhows. And of course, he's built an empire, as well as the retail outlets of Lobo. He supplies all the uniforms for people like Emirates and Altai Motors. So, an incredible rags to riches story. You've got Dhananjay Datta from Al-Adil Trading, very big import-export business for foodstuffs. He recalls when he was a child back home in India, never having breakfast while growing up and walking to school barefoot. So, I mean, just you don't really get stories like that anymore, or it seems you don't. And then we have, of course, Yusuf Ali, MA, founder and managing director of Lulu Group. Of course, he's one of the richest men in the entire GCC. He's a multi-billionaire. And he came as a teenager to work in his uncle's shop in Abu Dhabi. And he's obviously gone on to create this massive empire, which just keeps expanding well beyond just the grocery stores. Just last week, partnership with the World Economic Forum on a food security project. Opened its 12th outlet in Saudi, it's 143rd in total, bought the Waldorf Astoria in Edinburgh, so he just keeps rolling on. What a tale, what a tale.
What kind of industries are we looking at? Because we've seen a bit of retail here, we've obviously got tailoring, sort of quite traditional spheres, would you like? What other industries are on the list here?
Yeah, well, again, these are quite old school guys in many respects, and they've really sort of done the hands-on industries that have built this region into what it is. So you've got people like Nawab Shaji Al Mulk from Mulk Holdings, building facades, building contracts, healthcare, plastics and sports assets with a global workforce of 7,000. You've got Lalu Samuel from Kingston Holdings. Their business comprised of manufacturing, distribution, logistics, system integration, whatever that is, smart home solutions and project development. Again, you know, very real industries. Nazmuddin Mohammed, founder of Petrogras Piping, have been doing all sorts of work throughout the decades, really, to really develop that sector to what it's grown to today. So, incredible stories there, really.
I'll tell you what's also been interesting about these guys is it doesn't matter what sector they've achieved successes, they don't stop there, they keep moving, they always want to strive forward and diversify and see opportunities wherever they exist, and in the UAE that's kind of proved to be almost limitless. What sort of other fields have these guys gone into?
Yeah, well, this is an important point, actually. I hope they'll forgive me for saying that. Out of this list of 50, there's quite a few that aren't in their first flush of youth. Yet they've really sort of powered on from one industry to the next and never stopped. So I'll give you a few examples of that. Nilesh Bhatnagar, Managing Director of MB Ventures. He was at Landmark for many years. He set up their operations in Saudi and was 20 years with Landmark. Obviously a fantastic job. He'd done really well there. But he left not that long ago to launch NB Ventures, which is a venture capital fund. So he's put his money on the line. He's put his career, his
reputation.
His reputation, yeah. You know, what a step to take. Yeah. Thumbay Moideen, I mean, this is incredible. He came here, he was originally in timber and he got into healthcare. And he's done phenomenally well. Yeah. I don't know how you go from one industry to the next. And now he's gone into real estate. His son heads up that. So what a jump. What a jump. And then here's the big daddy of them all, Parash Shadapuri.
Great story, this, isn't it? This is a fantastic story.
Well, he was a sort of lifelong diplomatic career with the Indian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And it wasn't until he got towards his 50th birthday that after some conversations he had with some Japanese electronics exporters, that he decided to set up a business importing electronics to the UAE, but set up his own brand to do it. And in the last 20 years then, he's in his 70s now, he's built an incredible group. And this was all after his 50th birthday, which, you know, gives us all hope, really. So
I was going to say, it shows you the opportunities that are out there, really, doesn't it? That you should never stop striving and keep pushing forward.
Yeah, and these guys, they might not look like your typical example of a young entrepreneur sitting in Costa on his laptop, you know, with his little app startup.
It's just kind of good old-fashioned business, sort of sound business sense, and a bit of old-school tenacity. Really.
Yeah.
One question we do have to ask is, where are the women? Are there any women on this list?
Well, you know, in a way, we were slightly embarrassed when we put this together. Out of the 50 people, there are 3. We've got Renuka Jagtiani. She's the Vice Chairperson and CEO of Landmark Group. Obviously, her husband, Mickey Jagtiani, has done incredible things with Landmark. But Renuka, she was the main player behind the creation of Splash. She's guided the group's corporate strategy and helped strengthen its fashion and hospitality businesses. So she's done great things there, and she's a real sort of successful businesswoman in her own right, and very worthy of a place on the list. We've got Lena Pavani, who's the founder and CEO of iCare Insure. She arrived here. She's a Dubai success story. She only arrived here in not that long ago. I think it's 2004, and then she launched iCare Insure. It's a very difficult business to get into insurance, but she launched that in 2014 and has done very well, sort of giving a bit more of an individual and personalised spin on the insurance company. Very involved in philanthropy now as well. I want to get to that in a second. And we've got Zuleyka Daoud, the founder and chairperson of Zuleyka Healthcare Group. She's just an incredible person. She arrived in the UAE in the early 60s. She set up the first clinic in 64, the first hospital in Sharjah in 92, Dubai's hospital in 05, and then Nagpur in 2016. So she's gone from someone who worked in the healthcare sector on an individual basis to creating a very sizable group. So
you touched on it there. I mean, you touched on philanthropy just before, and it's amazing how many of these people actually, you know, once they've made their millions and made their businesses and set their families up, they do like to give back, don't they? So many examples of setting up foundations and charitable donations.
Yeah, I really want to stress this about the Indian Aces list this year. Nearly all of them have got tales of philanthropy projects, either back in India, a lot doing work here as well. A few said, look, we made our money here. It was thanks to this country that we built our successes, and we want to give back to it. So almost without exception, these men and the women on there have built sizable philanthropic organisations. I just want to go back to the point about the women, though. The point I just forgot to mention earlier was that although there's only 3 women on the list, I think going back to what we said earlier about these guys, a lot of them having come over in the 50s, 60s, 70s, it was a different era, it was a different time. These were old school industries that were in, and they tended to be men that were in them. There just weren't the opportunities for the women at that time. But they were in a country led by the UAE's founding father, Sheikh Zayed, that believed in women, pushed women's education. And all these guys, I mean, I know quite a few of them personally, their sons and daughters, it's very much that their daughters figure in the succession plans. So I think in future years, these lists will look very different indeed. So I don't think it's a product of time, and I think that is changing. Arguably, it should have changed already, but you know, we are where we are, and I think, but it's important to mention that.
Sure. Fascinating stuff. Don't forget to pick up a coffee when it's in the stores. You've been watching Inside AB. I'm Eddie Taylor. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.